Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are finding yourself on this channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, because we drop an update just like this one every single day at 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys navigate and stay up to date with the cryptocurrency markets and also the broader markets. So things like the stock market, the equity market generally, even things like metals, the currency markets, and we try and sort of synthesize it all together and use it to help us work out where this small but very significant and to become infinitely more significant space is heading. So without further ado, let's get straight into the update that we have for you today. And we are going to be starting the video off with a clip of Senator Cynthia Lummis, who has been a big advocate for Bitcoin, one of the most Bitcoin pro sort of senators that there is. She actually recently appeared on an interview where she spoke about the transformation that is happening with global currencies and how we may end up on a basket of currencies and where Bitcoin finds itself in all of this. The one reason I question, more so than anything else, Bitcoin's origins is just because of it's too good to be true. You know, it came out at the perfect time given what's happened and been largely a success. Probably in other countries more so than the likes of the United States and the UK and many parts of Europe, where we've seen real inflation and we've seen Bitcoin actually act and be what it was built to be. Are we going to see a continuation of this with larger currencies? And if we are moving away from what has stood in regards to how the world works and currencies work to something a little bit more different, where does Bitcoin find itself in all of that? And it certainly seems like we are moving that way. So this is an important clip. Then we're going to dive into a little bit of news about Christine Lagarde's son, the chief of the ECB that lost most of his money on crypto, allegedly. We'll look at a quote from, or a tweet from Robert Kiyosaki. We'll talk a little bit about what happened with the Cosmos Hub now reducing and slashing nearly by half their inflation. And then we're going to look at the broader markets. Bitcoin has run into resistance. We have said you're likely going to have a bit of a break here. You're not just at resistance for Bitcoin, you're at resistance for altcoin, you're at resistance for the total market of the entire crypto space. You're also at resistance for the like of stocks. Dollar's been hit pretty hard. You know, treat resistance as resistance. It's likely going to be met with resistance until you push through it. And really for us now, we're very confident on the fact that crypto is now in an uptrend, along with many other things that we've been very right on. And it's going to continue, but you are going to have peaks and troughs within that. So without further ado, guys, let's dive into this clip of Senator Cynthia Lummis, talking about Bitcoin.
Cash will continue to be short money, and that Bitcoin will be more prevalent as long money. So people who have a time preference that allows them to wait and save and be patient will benefit by using Bitcoin. And people that are engaged in activities that require instant gratification will be more involved in fiat currency. Now, how that will play in the bigger financial markets, U.S. Treasuries, stocks, and non-government bond markets, fixed income markets, I don't know. I also wonder how it's going to play within the reserve funds of the world. You know, the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency. But, you know, with the rise of China and the yuan and other currencies that want to compete for a role within the reserve currencies of the world, with the potential for oil to be sold and bought, denominated not in U.S. dollars but in other currencies, really may change what constitutes the world reserve currency. We may go to a basket of currencies as the world reserve currency. And if that happens, I am absolutely certain that Bitcoin will be among them, and perhaps dominant among them. So these are times of great disruption as we move from the industrial age to the information age. And these kind of disruptions are going to happen, I think, more quickly than people my age like to realize, because we're just starting to grasp what this is all about. And, you know, sometimes when you can't grasp it, you just think, well, hopefully I won't be around when this becomes ubiquitous part of our everyday life. I think that even people my age are going to live to see the day when this is a ubiquitous part of everyday life.
Very interesting clip, and we happen to partly agree with a lot of what Lummis is saying when she says actually Bitcoin, if we do move to a basket of currencies, could be a dominant one within that. This sounds, people are going to say, oh, well, Senator Lummis, she's very pro crypto. Well, actually, Larry Fink's BlackRock said the exact same thing. I don't have a technological background. You guys know my background, believe it or not, is in dentistry. However, I've been immersing myself in blockchain and now more widely technology as a whole, looking at things like AI, looking at where all this is taking us. And it's a completely different future that we are moving towards, truly. And Bitcoin, I think, is going to have a role in all that. And she really brings up some really interesting points. Again, points that actually BlackRock's Larry Fink has reiterated, and that this isn't going to take forever to take hold. 10 years. I mean, the world in 10 years' time is going to be vastly different. And where does Bitcoin find itself with that? What's the end game? It's very interesting. And the main reason I question Bitcoin's origin so much is simply because of its too good to be true nature. It came around at the perfect time in 2008 and was so insightful. Satoshi must have been a real visionary and somebody that knew what was going to happen. Moving on, guys, Christine Lagarde, president of the European Central Bank. Christine Lagarde says her son lost almost all his money trading crypto. The ECB has called for global regulations of crypto to protect consumers who are unaware of its risks, per Reuters. Indeed, this is no new story. Actually, I think the toppling of CZ and the taking over essentially of Binance is the very green light that we need. This industry is on the verge of becoming an industry. On to some Robert Kiyosaki news. Great news, gold reaches new highs. Bad news, workers and savers are losers. Bad news, been saying this for 25 years. Don't be a loser. Get out of fake money systems. Get into gold, silver, and Bitcoin now before it's too late. Now, we actually posted, and this was quite a liked tweet, a picture of gold divided by the money supply. So you may have gone up in terms of dollar value for gold, but have you in terms of purchasing power? I think the answer most likely is no. I do believe I've got a lot of things that are divided by the money supply, like Bitcoin. Is this Bitcoin divided by the M2? Very different charts from gold divided by the M2. This is obviously the crash and all the printing. Gold's actually lower after all the printing than it was pre if you divide it by the money supply. So gold bugs will be very right all of a sudden. But when you look at it in this kind of a fashion, are they and have they been right? My ultimate answer is no. However, Bitcoin is very much in the precious metals category. It's not a precious metal, of course, but it's very much similar, and you can see the real linkage there, which is certainly interesting. On to a little bit of other news specific to Cosmos. If you guys haven't checked out our website, allincrypto.com, we do have price charts and everything. We're also going to be dropping something huge at the start of the year. Atom has essentially proposed, and that proposal has gone through, a inflation cap at 10%. The prior cap was around about 19%, I believe. Very interesting. There's also going to be a bit of a fork coming up. If you want to read about this, I'll leave a link to it in the description. On to the market. So as we had kind of speculated, Bitcoin might need a little bit longer to get through this. You're just playing out the same playbook that you did when you ran into this first little bit of price action here. You've ran into resistance, treat it exactly as that resistance. You've run into resistance again. You might need to consolidate and coil up a little bit longer. There's a number of things that could be on the cards. You could get a retest down here, which I don't think is as likely. I think this is a very strong market. If you look at the Binance news, in a bear market, this would have been horrific. I'm not a big fan of grinding structures. I think basic Dow theory and things like this dictate that on an uptrend, your pullback should be descending, and on a downtrend, your pullback should be ascending. But we're not going to go there. So Bitcoin may need a little bit more of a break, although I wouldn't bank on too much of a break. This is a bull market. I think it's very much confirmed from all angles. We looked at the former president of the New York Stock Exchange actually going all in on crypto yesterday. Very worth a watch, that video. Not only is Bitcoin at resistance, the total market cap has broken out, but it hasn't come back and retested. So there may be that on the cards. Total market cap excluding Bitcoin is at perfect resistance. So is the total market cap excluding Ethereum and Bitcoin is at resistance. We're also at resistance for something, a chart that I don't see anybody talking about, which is others dominance. which perfectly made our head and shoulders target. It's now consolidating. You might just get a really small, weak right shoulder before you get this full-blown alt season, which we think is coming in 2024 election year. You know, we've got so many things we've looked at that all lead us to the same conclusion. Gold, of course, at resistance. We're very bullish on gold. We've also looked at historically what happens with rates when they stop and gold. You know, everything points to the same destination. And of course, stock market, we are still expecting higher targets for. We've been so right on the stock market this year, really across the board. You know, these are plans that we had out before we had even made this head and shoulders on the NASDAQ. Perfect target. Sorry, not the NASDAQ, Microsoft. NASDAQ also ran into its target perfectly, pulled back into an expansion. You know, it's now at resistance again. So you might see across the board a little bit more consolidation. But ultimately, I wouldn't bank on it and hang around for it, you know. And if you, where does crypto come into all this? Well, divide Bitcoin by the stock market. It's now in an uptrend. Divide Bitcoin by the NASDAQ in an uptrend. Divide Bitcoin by gold in an uptrend. You know, Bitcoin and crypto is going to do very well this year with everything doing well. Dollar may be in a broader channel to the downside. We will see. But crypto generally right now is just running into a bit of a stall. We mentioned in the Patreon 4 AI altcoins. AI is going to be huge, guys. It's fundamentally changing the entire world. AI is going to be a rocket sector. So is blockchain. Couple them together, you've got a slingshot. If you want to find out about what those are, please do consider becoming a patron. But that's really all I've got for you. You've got a heavy week of economic data. Probably most notably GDP tomorrow, which could be interesting. Black Friday sales did very well. People are saying, okay, well, it's not quite accurate. And if you look at credit cards that were used this Black Friday, for me, just a little bit of a personal touch on things, we're starting to get Christmas adverts. I think, and I could be totally wrong here, this is the first Christmas where I've noticed presents advertised with finance. I know a lot of people have been doing it, and it's a very popular thing to finance your Christmas because Christmas is very expensive. Most people don't have money set aside. But this is the first time I've really seen advertised finance with your Christmas presents. And I think that's quite interesting. Again, it's not taking the finance out that's the problem. It's the paying it off at the other end, just like with rates, which is why we think a shitstorm will come. It will just be later on, and we're bullish on the markets until that happens. Remember, the stock market rallies within 2% of its high 2 months prior to recession. So it will make its high within 2% thereabouts, and then 2 months after, it will go, 2 months after official recession, it will start to, 2 months before it will start to price in a recession. So it will run all the way up until that. So that's really what we've got for you guys. Quite a comprehensive report. If you've enjoyed the video, like us, always appreciate it as a comment. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, allincrypto.com. Come give me a follow over on Twitter, @RealAllInCrypto. And on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Have a magic Monday, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.